Before we begin, pause for a moment. Relax your shoulders. Let your breathing slow down. Grab a coffee, some tea, or whatever helps you settle in. Because this story is not about something hidden in the future. It's about something that already exists. Something drawn on paper. A map. And before we go any further, if you enjoy slow, thoughtful videos that blend science, history, and unsettling questions, take a second to like this video, share it with someone who enjoys curiosity-driven mysteries, and leave a comment at the end with your own interpretation. Now, let me ask you a simple question. What is a map? At first glance, it's just information, a guide, a way of turning chaos into order. But maps do something far more powerful than that. They decide what is real. They tell you what exists, and just as importantly, what doesn't. Which is why this map is so disturbing. Because according to everything we know, it shouldn't exist at all. Let's start in the early 1500s. This was a time when much of the world was still unknown to Europeans. Entire continents were incomplete sketches. Coastlines were guesses. Oceans were filled with monsters, not measurements. And yet, in 1513, an Ottoman admiral and cartographer named Piri Reis created a map that still troubles historians and scientists today. At first glance, it looks unremarkable. Ink on parchment, stylized coastlines, decorative illustrations. But look closer. The map shows the western coast of Africa. That's fine. It shows the eastern coast of South America. Still fine. But then something strange appears. A southern landmass. One that looks suspiciously like Antarctica. Here's the problem. Antarctica was officially discovered in 1820, more than 300 years after this map was drawn. And even more troubling, Antarctica is covered in ice, miles of it. Yet the landmass on the Piri Reis map appears ice-free, with coastlines, rivers, contours. Now, at first, scholars dismissed this. Coincidence, distortion, artistic liberty. But the more closely the map was analyzed, the harder that explanation became. Because when modern scientists overlaid the Piri Reis map onto satellite images, some of the coastlines lined up. Not perfectly, but far too well for comfort. So how could a 16th century map show geographic features that shouldn't have been visible until modern times? Piri Reis himself gave us a clue. In the notes written directly on the map, he explained his sources. He claims to have compiled it from over 20 older maps, some Portuguese, some Arabic, and some ancient, including maps allegedly dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. Now pause. Alexander lived in the 4th century BCE. That's nearly 2,000 years before this map was drawn. And even then, Antarctica was supposedly unknown. So where did those ancient maps come from? That question bothered one man deeply. In the mid-20th century, a researcher named Charles Hapgood took the map seriously. Too seriously, some would say. Hapgood noticed something unsettling. The map didn't just show Antarctica, it showed it accurately. At least accurately enough to suggest surveying, not guesswork, not myth. Surveying requires tools, geometry, trigonometry, an understanding of latitude and longitude, which raises an impossible idea. What if a civilization existed long before recorded history with the ability to map the Earth precisely? That idea was, and still is, extremely controversial. Mainstream archaeology rejects it, and for good reason. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But here's the uncomfortable part. The Piri Reis map isn't the only one. There are others. The Orentius Venus map of 1531 shows Antarctica in striking detail. Mountain ranges, river systems, again, ice-free. The Mercator map contains anomalies. The Boucher map depicts Antarctica split into two land masses, something we now know is true beneath the ice. These maps aren't identical, but they share something disturbing. They seem to preserve knowledge that shouldn't have survived or shouldn't have existed. Now let's address the obvious objection. Could these simply be distorted versions of South America? That was the standard explanation for decades. But when glaciologists compared the ancient maps to radar scans of Antarctica's bedrock, some features matched. Not perfectly, but again, too closely. And here's where things get really uncomfortable. Antarctica hasn't been ice-free for at least 6,000 years, likely much longer, which means if these maps are accurate, the source information predates all known advanced civilizations, predates Egypt, predates Sumer, predates writing. So now we're left with three possibilities. 1, the matches are coincidence. 2, the maps are clever forgeries or misinterpretations. 3, our understanding of ancient human capability is incomplete. Science strongly prefers option 1 or 2, but neither fully resolves the anomalies, which leads to a deeper question. What do maps really represent? They're not just geography, they're memory. A map is knowledge frozen in time, and knowledge can outlive civilizations. Burn the libraries, flood the cities, collapse the empires. If a map survives, so does a fragment of understanding. So let's imagine something unsettling. What if the Piri Reis map is not evidence of advanced technology, but of lost continuity? What if knowledge doesn't always move forward? What if it collapses and rebuilds and collapses again? History tends to assume progress is linear, cave paintings to computers. But nature doesn't work that way. Systems grow, systems collapse. Forests burn and regrow. Civilizations might do the same. Now, this doesn't require aliens. It doesn't require time travelers. It only requires one thing: that we stop assuming our era is unique. Because here's the truth. We already know civilizations can lose knowledge. The Romans had concrete stronger than ours and lost the recipe. The Greeks built mechanical computers and forgot how. The Library of Alexandria burned, and with it, untold information. Multiply that by thousands of years, by floods, ice ages, sea level rise, entire coastlines submerged. Most early civilizations lived near water, which means most early evidence is underwater, unexcavated, unseen. Now think about this. If a coastal civilization existed 10,000 years ago, mapped the world, and then vanished, what would survive? Stone ruins? Unlikely. Metal tools? Corroded. But maps copied and recopied, those could survive. Degraded, imperfect, but still whispering something. Now let's be clear, there is no proof of a lost advanced civilization. None. But there is proof of missing chapters, and maps like this force us to confront that gap. Because the most disturbing thing about the Piri Reis map isn't that it might be accurate, it's that it reminds us how fragile knowledge is, how much can be forgotten, and how arrogant it is to assume we are the first to see clearly. So here's the Vsauce-style question. If someone found a map of Earth 10,000 years from now, what would it say about us? Would it make sense? Would it show things that shouldn't exist? Or would future scientists dismiss it as coincidence because it doesn't fit their story? We like clean narratives, progress, discovery. But reality is messier, full of erasures, corrections, lost files, and sometimes maps that don't belong. So when you look at a map, remember this. It's not just telling you where you are, it's telling you what someone at some point thought mattered. And sometimes, what they knew is more than we're comfortable admitting. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it, share it with someone who enjoys history and unanswered questions, and leave a comment below. Do you think these maps are coincidence, misinterpretation,
or evidence of forgotten knowledge. Because the strangest thing about the map that shouldn't exist is that it still does.